And LeBron understands that where his path to an NBA Finals would be, and that is through the Eastern Conference.
Yes.
Right? Right now, if you're looking at it, sure, I don't remember the 2022 picture from Cleveland of the 4th of July. I'd like to go back in LeBron's social and check this all out since he says he's been there every year, and that's where he trains in the offseason. I don't necessarily believe all of that. But if you were to try to get back to the NBA Finals, going to the Eastern Conference, wherever you go, truly wherever you go in the Eastern Conference is probably a better option than staying with the Lakers and trying to navigate what is the Western Conference in that gauntlet. Monse, it is a time. This was a conversation that was brought up decades ago. But when you see how difficult the West is right now, and by the way, here's the scary thing. The future of the NBA. I'm telling you, the future of the NBA right now, Monse, is in the Western Conference.
Mm-hmm.
Cooper Flagg's now in Dallas, first overall pick. We expect Victor Wembanyama to be an absolute star and maybe the face of the league at some point. He's in the Western Conference. Anthony Edwards doesn't want to be the face of the league, but he's darn good. He's in the Western Conference. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's now getting $71 million a year to play basketball in the Western Conference. And I could go on and on. We could talk about the Rockets and Kevin Durant. We could talk about your Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. It goes on and on and on and on. And it is now time for Adam Silver in the NBA to say, we kind of got to do away with these conferences. This has gone on for way too long of having the West be as good as it is. I am usually against this. They tried it in college football. It didn't work for the Big Ten. It actually failed miserably for the Big Ten when they tried to set up, we want these teams here and this team in that conference because we feel it's going to be even. I don't know how you would set up these divisions, but right now, East and West is not a fair fight. It's not interesting basketball. And I think Adam Silver and the NBA need to revisit doing away with conferences for how loaded the West is right now.
You know, sports talk is usually a discussion because people don't agree. Everyone would agree with this statement that the East is wide open and that all of the competition is on the Western Conference. Going into the playoffs for this year, nobody wanted to play who could end up as a play-in in the West, whether it was going to be the Clippers, whether it was going to be, I think Denver was in it, Warriors. Nobody wanted to play whoever was going to win the play-in tournament. When it came to the East, the Celtics, they weren't worried about that. The Cavs weren't worried about that. They're like, who's going to be? Miami? We don't care. Chicago? It doesn't matter. There is very little competition out of the Eastern Conference. And if you're not going to do this now, then when? This is the perfect opportunity to do it. I don't think people would fight or be upset about it. It's the perfect time to do it. It's right in front of your faces as to why you should do this.
You said it in a very kind way. I'll just say it. The East sucks right now. It does. It has for a while, and it's gotten worse. It wasn't like when the Raptors won it in 2019 or when the Bucks won it in 2021 or when the Celtics won it last year, that the East was this juggernaut. Those teams rose to the occasion and came through. But I even go to the late teens where LeBron and the Cavs had their runs to the NBA Finals in 2015 and 2016. Then Durant joins the Warriors, and they're still facing. If you remember, prior to Kevin Durant joining the Warriors, we remember he was in Oklahoma City. The Warriors got tested at that point. The Warriors got tested with the Houston Rockets and almost were eliminated in a Western Conference Final. There wasn't that resistance towards the Cavaliers at that point. This conversation has been going on, I think, since the early 2000s when the Lakers had their three-peat. And you've had Eastern Conference teams win NBA titles. But that doesn't necessarily reflect that the Eastern Conference as a whole was better. I don't know how you, as an NBA or an NBA commissioner, can look at this and look at the Western Conference right now and say, we have four teams that probably are just going to continue to stink. Portland, Phoenix, New Orleans, and Utah. So we have 11 teams right now for 10 spots. So they're already locked into their spots. So there's not as much drama. There's just jockeying for position. In the East, you don't think anybody is good, so you're not really paying attention. And bad could be completely bad in the East, but you're going to have a team that's not even makes the play-in tournament in the West that could be what? A 5 seed?
On the East,
a 4 seed in the East? Something needs to be done with this.
And the big thing with the NBA, including the All-Star game, it's like the competition, right? It's like we want to see a competitive game through and through. And this would only add to that. The first couple of rounds in the Eastern Conference were, a little bit boring. Like at the start of the season, like you said, everybody was like, it's the Celtics championship for the East to lose because nobody else was the real contender.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to the West, who could it be? Could it be the Lakers? Could it be the Clippers? Could it be OKC? OKC started to become the topic of conversation once we got deeper into the season. But for the East, it was like, oh, it's the Celtics. Like there wasn't even really much to discuss because we didn't see a real threat coming out of the East. Obviously, the Knicks were super fun during the playoffs and everybody enjoyed that run. But if you don't take advantage of it now, it just seems like when you do decide to do it, it's going to be like, well, why did you wait so long? Or you're going to do it at a time that doesn't seem appropriate, where right now the stars are aligning. The stars are aligning for you to do this.
And geographically, when we think of the West previously in the old NBA, even way before you were born, Monse, you thought of the West truly as the West. Sure, Denver had a team, but there was no Oklahoma City. There was no Minnesota. At that time, there was no Memphis, there was no New Orleans. Those teams are all Central Time Zone teams. You had the Texas teams, you had the Spurs, Mavericks, and Rockets as well. But this year when the Pacers played the Thunder, it was East versus West on labels. But mileage-wise, Oklahoma City was just as close to Indianapolis as New York City was, where the Pacers were playing the Eastern Conference Finals. So travel isn't that big of an issue anymore. You were worried about going from one end of the country to the other and maybe having to do it. Lakers Celtics obviously would be one. When you have it at the finals, you could do it, but maybe it's not something you would want to do in the second round. Depending on where NBA expansion takes us, and Seattle and Las Vegas are the two names that are brought up the most, I still think that you have the ability, because of all of those teams in the Central Time Zone, to be able to massage this and make this in a way where it isn't just East versus West. I don't know why the West is dominant. I have no idea. I don't know if they just have better ownership, more proactive front offices. I don't know why, but it's gone on long enough that this is not good for the Yeah, it's neat to see Kevin Durant play for the Rockets, but the only reason that we care Kevin Durant's going to play for the Rockets is what happens in April, May, and June. So when we're talking about players playing in the NBA, when you're going to have it so lopsided, when we don't think the players even care at that point, you're giving us less of a reason to care because of how one-sided and how heavily slanted the competition is from one side to the other. The East is just going to be an afterthought the entire season in the NBA.
You just said it. They have been an afterthought, though. As long as I can remember, the West has always been dominant.
Sure.
So this has been for years and years. They've been an afterthought. And especially after LeBron James left and came to the Lakers. Then the East was really another afterthought. It just seems like this might boost the ratings, the interest. It might make people pay attention once again to the regular season more than just like those real deep basketball fans. I enjoy the NBA. It's my favorite sport, but it's hard to defend it. It's hard to defend the product.
And
this would help me defend it a little bit more.
It's hard to defend the regular season.
It's hard to defend the regular season.
And now if you have a playoff where on every other night you only care about the conference finals, it's going to be it's the same thing. Yeah, I get it. I'll say this. This is awful. We live on the West Coast. I'm a Bucks fan. 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Pacific tip-offs for the NBA playoffs. I'm kind of like, all right, I got to wait till 6:30.
Yeah.
Or I got to wait till the Western Conference game. That's what it was. The Bucks they only played 5 games against the Pacers. But in looking at the playoffs, I had to make sure everything was, all right, do I got everything set up? Maybe I don't catch all of the Celtics magic, but I got to make sure to tune in to Timberwolves Lakers. Like, That's the one. And the same thing with Rockets and Warriors and all of those other series. And Clippers Nuggets were a great series. But that's what I'm setting my night up on. And if you live on the East Coast, you're like, crap, I got to stay up because I got to watch the games that actually matter.
I didn't even think of that. Something that us Californians don't ever think about.
No.
I'm like, wait,
Pluses
what
and
time?
minuses.
Really? It's like, oh, right, it is 10:30, huh?
The only awful payback for me is golf, living on the West Coast when the Open Championship is on, because you can wake up at 6 a.m. on the East Coast and watch all morning long, but here it's 3 a.m., a little too early. But that's a couple of weeks away. We'll worry about it then. She's Monse Balanos. I'm Dan Beyer. It is the 4th of July. Hit Monse up at Monse Balanos. You can find me